Okay. All right, guys. So thank you for attending. This is I did something last month, but this is the first ever. This is the inaugural meeting of the Awakened Man Community monthly group session. I don't know if I want to call it a group coaching or it's definitely a live session where we will have something that is going to add value to your lives to help you in your Awakened Man journey. And I want it to be some collaboration too. I want to connect you guys to each other. I want mentorship to happen. I want networking to happen. I want iron to sharpen iron. I want all of that. So this is my attempt to like get guys together and maybe be a facilitator in that process, maybe add value to you guys. But I don't want me to be the only one adding value. I know there's so much dynamic and just genius on this call, on this group here. So I just want to make sure you all feel comfortable in sharing your genius. So here's what we're talking about today. We're going to get ready to jumpstart your routine. So there's this idea, and I kind of pulled from Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, and I've been doing business coaching and coaching in general for 9 years. So it's coming from all sorts of places. Brennan Burchard, Darren Hardy, like all sorts of places. I don't even know where it all comes from, but I put this together for you guys. But definitely was influenced quite a bit by Tony Robbins, and he has this concept where he says change happens automatically. No matter what, things are going to change. Life never stays the same. It's always changing. So we have to be intentional, though, about getting progress. In order to reach your goals, in order for stuff to happen the way you want it, in order to have influence over the change, you have to be intentional. So even though things are constantly changing, progress and improvement takes intention and action, and that's what this is about. So if you don't already have a pen and paper, something to write with, something to capture your notes, you need it. This is a workshop. This isn't a lecture, this is a workshop. So I'm going to walk you through a process, and you're going to walk away. By the way, we're going to end by 5 o'clock, so I always end on time. In that time, I hope that the workshop portion will take 30, 35, 40 minutes. I want to leave some time at the end for your comments, what you're getting out of this, question and answer, experience sharing, whatever. I want to spend at least 20 minutes at the end. But we'll be wrapped up by 5 o'clock, so you can count on that. But you're going to walk away from this session today with some clarity. And I know it's, you guys are the poster child for achievement and getting stuff done, and, performance and passion and power and all that stuff. You guys are the Awakened Men. You guys are the ones that are making that stuff happen. So you probably already have a lot of clarity about what your goals are, but this, I guarantee you, is going to get you one level better, because, even 1 degree of change, even 1 degree of inspiration is going to make a huge difference over the trajectory of your life, and certainly of this year. So how does that sound? Is anybody like, well, I'm out, not what I wanted? Welcome, Randall.
Hey.
Cool. And you can control your own mute there. Anybody give me are you good with this? I need to hear some positive reinforcement. Like, are you ready to go?
I am amazing with this.
Can always count on you, Darren. Thanks, man. All right. Yeah, let's see. We got a chat box here too. Good to go. Casey says,
I'm doing great. I'm ready, man.
All right, cool. All right, I'll try to pay attention to the chat box and the Q&A, and as people are showing up, I think we're probably what we're going to get at this point. All right, so here we go. Okay. All right, it's part one. You got your notepad ready to go. Part one is identify what you want to improve. Now, why do I emphasize? I put the emphasis on you because this is you got to think about something that you can control, that you have influence over. If it's like, I really want my wife to improve, that's not what we're about here. That's not what we're talking about. What is an area you want to improve that you have some influence over? It could be your marriage, but it's not. It's not your wife directly, right? So here, answer these questions. So just brainstorm, write it out. Just respond to these questions in your journal or wherever you need to take notes. What is happening currently in this area that's not working? So let me tee this up a little bit more. So typically at this time of year, January, typically people do New Year's resolutions and whatnot, right? People set goals. It's a time of renewal. If there's something that every year comes to mind, like I'm going to get my health and fitness in order, and you said that last year, but you're looking at the situation and it hasn't really improved. What's the thing in your life, in your relationship, in your business that you're like, okay, this is the time. This is the year. I'm so sick and tired of this thing not improving. That's your cue. What is that? And then answer this question. What's happening in this area that's not working? Okay, what's not working? Question number 2, what is missing in this area? So what's not working? What's missing? What's not there that needs to be there? What's the lack of clarity about? Okay. What would you like to see stop? What would you like to stop in this area? What should stop? So let's use the example of health or fitness. So what's happening in this area that's not working? I feel sluggish. I don't have enough energy. It's affecting my sex life. It's affecting my family time. It's not working that I don't have energy. What's missing in this area? I don't have the right food in the fridge. I don't have the right food in the cupboard. I have all the wrong food in the cupboard. What needs to stop? I need to stop going through McDonald's every single day for lunch, right? So that gives you an idea. What would you like to see happen in this area? So we're going to go deeper into your vision for this area, but what would you like to see happen? The simple question, simple answer to that. What would you like to see happen is I would like to see my health and fitness improve. I'd like to see more energy. I'd like to see greater passion and desire for my wife, to have the energy for that. Okay? All right. Let me know if we need to slow down, but I'm going to move on. Part 2, identify the existing habits and routines. So here's the deal. Again, Tony Robbins talks about this idea of, like, at his conferences, he says, everybody who works out 3, 4, 5 times a week stand up. And he has everybody stand up who is working out on a regular basis. And he says, you look around the room, and you can picture this in your mind's eye. You look around the room of everybody who works out 5 times a week or more, you can picture, you're going to see some evidence of that in the bodies of these people. You're going to look at them, you're going to know, okay, yeah, that person, yeah, definitely works out 5 times a week, right? You have a picture of what that looks like. And that by looking at them, you can kind of grab what their routines and habits are. That they have some certain routines and habits that they do, and certain routines and habits that they don't do, right? So whatever the area you identified in part 1, what are the existing habits and routines What habits do you allow that contribute to the lack of results in this area? So we're going to get to the habits and routines you need to establish. But right now, what are the things that are contributing to? Because if you did the same experiment, you said, everybody who never works out ever stand up. And you would, for the most part, have the ability to say, oh yeah, I can see that person's a little soft. You know, it'd be a big contrast from the first group. You would see that you could say, okay, I know that their habits and routines are a lack of, maybe going through the drive-through, maybe getting up later, sleeping, going to bed really late, watching a lot of TV, a lot of stagnation on the couch, can have an idea of all the habits that allow to the lack of results in this area. So what are yours? What are the habits? What are the routines in your life that contribute to lack of results in this area? And this might be, just a different way of asking the question to help you think about it. But habits and routines are a little bit different. What are the routines in your life that contribute to the lack of results in this area? Okay, and then what is the usual pattern that happens in this area? What are the patterns? And in the work I do, I always am dissecting patterns. There's patterns of thinking, there's patterns of behavior, there's patterns of relational dynamics, like she says this, he says that every single time. So what are the patterns? What are the usual patterns that are creating this existing challenge or issue, the lack of result that you're getting? So example would be, I go to bed at midnight or 1 a.m. and I can't get up at 6 a.m. Weird, right? That's a pattern. But I could change that pattern. If I went to bed earlier, I could get up at 6 or even 5. All right, what are your excuses? What's the story you're telling yourself? Like before Tanya and I, before I got my relationship where I really, really like it, it's really passionate, it's really exciting, and she's crazy about me. Before we got there, I had this story that she doesn't appreciate me. She takes me for granted. I work really hard and she doesn't see it. I help out all around and she doesn't see it. She doesn't appreciate anything. That was my story. Well, that story that I was telling myself, while I could justify it, I could go to court. I could take Tanya to court and I could say, look at the evidence of all this reasons why I'm not like I should be appreciated, but I'm not. I could bring you the evidence for that story, but that story wasn't serving me. So I had to change my story, the story I was telling myself, and I had to change it from I'm underappreciated, I'm not valued, I'm not, whatever, all this lack stuff, and just say, F that, I'm going to get this stuff done. I'm going to step up. I don't have to live that story anymore. So what's your excuses? What are your story? What story are you telling yourself? So let me check in real quick. Anybody question or comment? What are you getting out of it so far here? You have to unmute before you talk, I think.
I think just considering the idea that there actually are ways that I am contributing to the lack of results in this area, rather than my usual approach, which is I'm a victim of it. It's just happening. There's nothing that I can do about it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I totally get that. It reminds me of that lyric from the Rush song, even if you don't make a choice, you still have made a choice. It's your habit. Your habits are either good or their habits are bad. Whatever it is, it's still a habit.
Right. Cool. Good stuff, guys. Would you mind sharing, Randy? I don't mean to put you on the spot. Would you mind sharing the area that you're focused on for this?
Sure, if you insist. No. I just, it's probably pretty central in this whole discussion. I want to improve my relationship with my wife, Gloria, and how I can be better husband.
Okay. Definitely going on with your audio there, but I did hear that you're looking at your relationship. And so that's awesome. I love that. I've experienced that with myself. Like when you start looking at yourself and seeing what you can do, what are the routines and habits that you're doing to get better results in your relationship, that's a powerful thing. So I'm glad to hear that, Randy. Darren, what area are you thinking of?
Well, last quarter it was around the health, and I've been able to nail that. And so I'm wanting to bring some of those same principles into my work life.
Awesome.
So
Cool.
I think I'm ready to go there. So
Love it. Love it. Anybody else want to share what they're working on?
I jump in there, Scott. I think for me, I'm just this is just so good as far as breaking things down. I mean, for me, it's kind of a duel. I kind of what Darren was just saying about just been working on the health thing for a couple of years, but just really applying some of these disciplines and really break down some of this stuff towards kind of that shift in career focus as well as relationship, and just areas that I just want to continue to improve at and just be more focused and more disciplined.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to shift gears a little bit. In part 3, identify what you want. So up till now, you've been looking at what is the current reality? What's the situation? Getting real about what's going on. Stop being in a story, get real. What is the practical stuff that's getting you the results? And those are the things that, that you're examining, you're bringing from the shadows into the light, and you're saying, okay, this is the situation. Even if I don't like the way it looks, this is what's happening. This is why I'm getting the results. Now, we're going to look at identify what you want. So it's your vision for this area. And I want you, if at all possible, wherever you're at, if you can get to a place where you can even close your eyes, breathe, get into your body. Don't overthink, but I want you to get to a place where you can have a clear mental picture in your mind and vision yourself in your life of where you want to be. So the relationship example, I visioned before I got it what my passionate marriage would look like, right? Even though I can hardly believe today that what I have compared to where I was, I can hardly believe it that it's actually happened, but it's exactly what I visioned. So don't be afraid to go, wow, right? Like get the clear vision of what would be extraordinary, what would be awesome. So what is the ideal or best case scenario for you in this area? I don't necessarily need you to write much down yet, but spend about, I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to at least close your eyes, and we're going to be silent for 30 seconds. Close your eyes, vision yourself and your life with this area completely off the charts. Best case. 30 seconds starting now. Okay, so hopefully you're able to like see it, and I'm gonna get you to feel it here in a minute, but write down real quick. Okay, just describe what you saw, like the colors, the light, the dark, the contrast, the the action, the feelings. What did you see? Write it down. Write some notes so that in a week from now or a month from now, you can go back and look at this and you can be like, oh yeah, I remember that vision. I'm going to give you some time for that because this is important. All right. So again, if there's questions or comments, feel free to jump right in. No problem interrupting at all. All right, so now part 4, identify your why. Because if I just gave you, like, think about the vision, think about, get that visual picture in your mind. This is important because the subconscious brain, where your automatic programming comes from, is 95% of your computing power, right? That means 5% of your brain, 5% of your computing power is conscious, is cognitive, is like thinking about it. That's why if you have a commute, when you get in your car and you go to work, or you get in your car, you go home, you get there without even thinking about it. You can literally have an entire conversation. You can do something completely different than drive, because your driving is on autopilot. 95% of your brain does the automatic stuff. And it's impossible for us. Actually, it's impossible for us. I need to find the better way to say this. For us to go against what our programming is feels off. It's impossible for us to feel fulfilled, feel aligned, feel completely integrated when we are operating outside of our programming. So we need our programming to be what we want, right? So by visualizing, your subconscious brain doesn't know the difference, right? It doesn't know the difference between what your eyes see and what your clear mental picture sees. So visualizing is a powerful tool to program your subconscious. But here's an even more powerful thing, is to feel it, is to get your body and your emotions involved, because the subconscious and the body are connected too. So this is sort of like a biohack, if you will. Like, if you can get it into your body, then it becomes, it's just another way of hacking the programming, right? So that's what we're going to do here. So list out several reasons you must have this. So it's no longer a should, it's a must, right? So maybe last year you had this thing on your list, but now I want you to get certain about it. Like, breathe deep, get excited, get some adrenaline pumping, get a must out of this thing. You must go there. It's like, I think I wrote this down. It's like burning your boats. You heard the old adage of you burn your boats to take the island. Like, there's no going back. You must have this, because we always get our musts. We don't necessarily get our shoulds. Like, if you should get up, you're not going to get up. But if you must get up, you will get up. So list some reasons why you must have this. Why must you have this? Why should that relationship get fixed? Why do you want that? What would it mean to you? What would it mean to your family? What would it mean to your kids? What would it mean to your spouse? Why must you get that thing into alignment in your business? Whatever's out of where you want it, and you want to bring it into where you want it in your business, why must that happen? You've got to make it a must. And then answer this question. Again, keep visualizing, keep feeling it. How would it feel? How will it feel when you're successful? Like, when you vision that, like I was saying, my vision for the relationship was so like out of like the realm of possibility at the moment, but I visualized it and I felt it like, oh my God, I'd be on top of the world. I'd be so passionate and fully alive. And that's where it's at now. So feel it, because again, the subconscious brain doesn't know the difference between your mental picture, and your body doesn't know the difference between real and what you're feeling in that mental picture. So feel it. What would it feel like? Now, opposite of that, because we are pain avoiders and pleasure seekers. So you just thought about the pleasure, but for a moment, how would it feel if you just let it slide? Let's say Another year goes by, and next January you're doing the same routine, and you're like, okay, I wanted to get that relationship fixed, but here it is again. I haven't stepped up as a man. I haven't stepped as a husband. I haven't stepped up as a father the way that I should have. I let it slide. I didn't do what I could. I didn't get better. How would that feel a year from now? Now think about that. If you let it go another 3 to 5 years, like what's going to happen? If you let it go another 3 to 5 years, if you let your health go another 3 to 5 years, where does that lead you? Like, what's the impact of that? I want you to feel the pain of the consequences of letting it go. Right? How would that feel? I want you to feel it. And the reason that we're doing this, because if you do this, you're hacking the programming. That programming that's been there, most of our programming was established by age 8, right? So it takes a lot of effort. It's David and Goliath, that 5%, getting into the 95%. You got to feel it. You got to visualize it, breathe, feel it. Okay. Hopefully that's making sense. So why are you going to burn your boats once or fall? Now you know that what it feels like to feel the pleasure, the fulfillment, the satisfaction. And you know what it feels like to feel the pain of you let it slide. So why now are you going to burn your boats once and for all? Why must you have this? Why is it a must? Is it a must or is it not a must? Who's struggling to make it a must? Who's struggling to feel that as a must? Be honest. If you are, I want to help you. So if I don't hear from you, I'm assuming everybody's got it as a must. I have to have this. It's not an option. I'm getting up at 5 a.m. I'm getting up at 4:30 a.m. Whatever it takes. I'm going to make this thing happen this year. This is my year. This is my month. This is my quarter. Everybody's good. Okay. Part 5, identify the new habits and routines. So the rest of it's going to be easy because you just downloaded it into your subconscious. So now that 95% is activated. Now the 5% still takes the discipline, right? It takes discipline, habit, and routine to make it a reality because your subconscious brain still is like, I don't believe you, Scott. I don't believe you that you're actually going to carry this out. So you now need to prove it with your habits and routines. Randy says, yes, I got to do it. Awesome. Love it, love it, love it. All right, so the new habits. What habits are needed to get results in this area? What are the new habits that are needed to get the results in this area? So you, like that example at Tony Robbins conference, you know the people, you can look and see what the habits are of the people that are totally in shape. You know what the habits are of the people that aren't in shape. So what are the obvious habits that need to be established to get results? Write them down. What routines must you have to get results in this area? And the typical thing in the Awaken Man program is, you know, pretty much every guy who's gone through the mastermind starts getting up earlier. They start having routines in the morning. Like, you know, the routine, you write down that routine, like get up, have my energy drink, do some stretching. Step 2, get on the treadmill, listen to some good stuff in my ear in the podcast. Step 3, stretch afterwards and drink my recovery drink. Step 4, journal and drink my shake. Step 5, you've got the routine written out. So the routine in my book is writing out the step-by-step. The habits are the daily habits that I need to do. Like to make my relationship better, one of my habits that I've written down in my book here, one of my habits here is flowers. So I'm marking off on my daily tracker, are there flowers in the kitchen? Because my wife loves to have flowers. So I identify that as a habit I need to cognitively think about. Every day I look at the kitchen counter. Are there flowers there? Something brightening the room, or on her bathroom counter. Those are the two places. So what are your daily habits and results? Sorry, daily habits and routines. And then also, what are the patterns? So the new patterns. This is just another question to get you to think about it. Like, do I go to, if I'm going to be successful in my morning routine, I've got to go to bed by 10. I've got to go to bed by 10:30. Like, that is a pattern. What are the routines that lead up to that happening? The bedtime routine with the kids. Like, figure out what needs to happen. All right. Now, write down the plan. So you have to have something that is measurable. So write down the specific stuff. So again, I recommend having a habit tracker, something like this. That's a list of, I don't know if you can see that, but it's basically just a list of things that are the daily things I'm going to do every day. And then by the end of the day, I'm checking, did I do it or not do it? Some of these things have to be done every day. Some of them have to do a few times a week. Having a place, and I can see if it's done or not done. Some of the things require a weekly plan, a weekly planning. Like, that weekly planning needs to be on my calendar, dates and times. Be specific. Like, I'm a spreadsheet guy. Like, for some reason, I put everything on spreadsheets, even stuff that's not supposed to be on spreadsheets. It just makes me feel better. So I recently got very specific about a whole process of social media posting and, blogging, podcasts, all this stuff. I had to lay it out on a spreadsheet just to get it very documented and planned out so that I could see when it's working and when it's not working. So that's what you need. You need some place where you're going to measure done or not done. Cool. All right. So that is the process. So where did we miss? Did I get through everything for you? You should have an absolute certainty that you're going to change something in your life that before you came in, you were maybe committed to, but not to the level you are now. Or maybe you identified a whole new thing, like this wasn't even something I was going to work on, but now I'm definitely going to do it. So let's have some conversation about that. Let's start with you, Casey. What's your reactions to this? How's it helping you? Any questions? Any comments?
No, not really. I mean, it's exactly it. I think time and dates is huge for me. Setting a goal and then measuring how exactly it's going to get done. I have the ability to procrastinate with things that may not feel as important as they should be. So it's huge.
Cool. Good. Do you mind sharing what area you're working on?
Business growth for the most part.
Awesome. So do you have now something that's a must do? Like, what's one thing you're going to change in the weeks and months to come that you've identified here that you're going to add in or take away?
That's a good one. I mean, really just following the process of what my mentorship has put in place and just following the structure and the systems. I also have the ability to get creative.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. Darren, what are you working on here? What did you come up with as far as a daily habit or routine that can move you forward?
Well, kind of taking the principles that I've been working on in my health, which is kind of like starting off with baby steps, but then they've turned into more than that over the course of the last 4 months. I'm kind of doing that in this aspect as well. In my business, I do a lot of sales, And today, but right before this call, I went out to reacquire a client, and I nailed it and got him back. And it's a sizable client. I'm just like, man, I want more of that. So identifying like at least every day, one reacquisition, one getting back one lost client, you know, not that I have, I mean, I could probably fill that list for a few months effectively, but you know, like right now, like that's my thing. I actually just texted my manager and I told him what report to run so I can look at it in the morning. I'm going to identify every day one person that I'm going to start working towards reacquiring.
Fantastic. And that is guaranteed to get results that you may have gotten slower before. This is going to speed you up, right? Or get you stuff that you wouldn't have, you wouldn't have turned that over that rock before. Now you're going to get every one of those opportunities.
Yep.
Cool. All right, Gunnar. Gunnar.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey,
this is great. I mean, this is just so good, such great timing today for me. You know, as I was telling you earlier, I just had rocked through David Goggins' "Can't Hurt Me" book, and just really refining kind of that, one of those words of the year. And for me, it really it's really discipline, and just being intentionally disciplined. I think the morning routine is something that I've been just seeing established more and more. That I want more of that. You know, I want to be able to get to 8:30 and just be able to have about 5 or 6 things, maybe even by 7:30 have about 5 or 6 things off that list, from the getting up early and reading and praying, meditating, giving thanks, exercise. It just really, I love the productivity I get, the clear thinking I get, the positive mentality I get going into the day. I can just be disciplined in that area. I think that affects, the career path and the shift and where I'm going and those things I can accomplish each day, as well as just relationally, just having a sense of fulfillment. I want to start the day off with a finished task, and just get after it. So that's what I'm getting here. I'm excited to, once this call's over, to just kind of get after it here.
Nice. You're fired up.
I'm very fired up.
Yeah, and if, by the way, anybody, any one of you who wants to share an experience of this working for you, I think that can be motivational for the other guys, and maybe even somebody who's listening to the recorded. Any experience of applying this and seeing it work that you feel compelled to share? I'd love to hear that.
I can share mine.
Okay, cool.
From the last quarter, when we did this last September, and my plan was just to wake up in the morning and start out an exercise routine. And it started out very small, and now I do it every day, and I feel amazing. It's increased my energy, increased my productivity. I'm showing up better for my kids. My wife and I went on a vacation for a week, and I got up every morning and I worked out when I was on vacation. Like, I've never been a worker-outer in my life, but it was like, and I get in a hotel and I look at those gyms and think, man, who uses those when you're on vacation? Like, why would somebody do that? Anyway, and I felt amazing. And so the sense of accomplishment that I felt and the confidence it's given me in other areas of my life has been amazing.
Yeah, that's such a good share. And, I've been able to obviously watch your journey, and it's been pretty amazing to see. And just to emphasize, so it started out with a very small challenge, but I remember you and I, Darren, we walked through that process of visualization and visualizing, like, I think we went as far as like 10 or 15 years down the road, if you don't take care of this. Like, we pretty much came to a place of, like, it's a life or death decision. And then from that, we took, hey, Don, I just made it so you can unmute yourself. Feel free to chime in. But you went from that life or death realization with that clear mental picture, and then the commitment was get up and get into the gym. And even it was just starting, like, just move your body a little bit. And it's just been amazing to see the progress to now. You're like, you're like you're blowing through dumbbells. Like every week I'm hearing from you, like, I got to get another dumbbell because this one's too light. And I may be exaggerating just a little bit, but that's what it's been like, right? You just went from barely moving to now you're like a real exercise guy who's looking at the hotel gym and being like, yeah, that's for me. And that's just awesome. But talk about the power of the visualization. Like for you to get to that life or death, like, why was that powerful for you? Like, why did that motivate you to take action? And this is something that you have never taken action on before. If I'm overstating it, let me know, but tell that part.
No, I mean, it definitely, I mean, there's been times in my life when I was younger and in sports and things like that where I would work out a little bit, but it was never part of my life as an adult, you know, to do that. But, you know, being a big guy and kind of taking it out far enough, I think was the key. Like, man, you know, and that's something that keep asking why. Well, okay, well, what happens if you don't do this? Okay, well, if you don't do that, then what happens here? And eventually you get to this point where you're just like, man, if I don't do something about this in 5 to 10 years with the way I feel right now, there's going to be some pretty serious repercussions. I'll be in my mid-50s in 10 years, and it's not going to be a good situation if I don't do something about it. And then really letting that sink in, like, man, I really want to be here for my kids. I really want to be here for grandkids. Like, I want to experience all of that life, and taking the time to really, you know, let it sink in and not just like pass over it or, yeah, well, I'll start tomorrow, you know? And that's kind of like why now in this quarter here, like, I want to do it in my business. Like, I can't keep saying, oh, I'll call that client tomorrow, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So the confidence that you've built up in establishing routines last quarter in your health, it's a catalyst to establishing routines in your business. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like, I've seen that I can do it.
Cool. The other thing that this reminds me of is like we're pain avoiders. Like, we are pleasure seekers, but we're almost more pain avoiders as human beings. So the pain of getting up early, you know, getting up earlier than you're used to, and then doing something like lifting weights. Like, I don't want to lift weights. That's painful, right? But when you link up the behavior of not doing this to extreme pain 5 years from now, 10 years from now, extreme loss, extreme frustration, extreme, like, in some cases, these are life or death situations, right? I can see this will be the death of my marriage. This will be me losing my business. This will be me losing my health. This will be me losing my family if I keep doing this. Get your subconscious so connected to that pain of the future so that the pain of getting up tomorrow morning and lifting some weights seems like, well, that's not so bad anymore. And it becomes easier, right? So that's the purpose of this visualization and feeling it. And hopefully I did an adequate job of getting you there. But of course, we didn't spend very much time. But if we had more time, you know, I could really get that to sink in with you. All right, let's go ahead, Darren.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had one more thing I was going to throw out there kind of to tag on there. Just like now looking at my baseline behavior, which is 30 minutes on my treadmill. Like, no matter what, I'm doing that every morning. And I'm doing my weights at least 4 to 6 times a week. But it's kind of funny now that I can't start my day without doing 30 minutes on the treadmill.
That is awesome. That's because it's not a should anymore. It's a must. It's just automatic for you. It's your routine and it's your baseline. I love that word. It's your baseline. So like anything you do, like, of course it's got to be after you treadmill, right?
Right. Yep. Even Jen this morning when we were getting out of bed, she's like, well, why don't you go down and work out and then I'll get up and I'll meet you downstairs for coffee. Like, she's accepted that it's a regular thing too.
That's awesome. All right, John, let me get your thoughts.
Okay, sorry, couldn't find the button there.
Yeah, no, John, let me just set it up. I mean, I know we met a couple of days ago, and I was kind of telling you, hey, you need to be at this workshop because it's going to help you. And be honest, like, does it deliver on what we talked about? Or is it, give me some reflection on that.
Yeah, I think you laid out a very good, just a sequence of things you can think about, do, plan, and execute, and it can be applied to, as everyone's saying, several different aspects of your life, your family, your wife, your business, your health, and it seems it will work for all those. I started a morning routine about 6 weeks ago, and to see it became just that, a routine where you didn't even think about doing it anymore, and then you could see the momentum that it created, and that momentum carries over to the other aspects. Even if you're focusing on the one part, maybe your business or your relationship, it all of a sudden the momentum would spill over to the other aspects of your life, because the routine was now just part of your life. And the visualization part, I'm very curious about. That's something we haven't touched on quite yet, but
Okay.
I do like the idea of your, your consciousness not knowing the difference between thinking of a feeling or experiencing the feeling. It's the same kind of neural pathway, and you can create that pathway by just thinking of it and visualize it. So I'm excited to kind of dive into some of that.
Yeah, good. And so what did you add to? Yeah, you've been doing some of this work for 6 weeks. Anything what was added to? Maybe it's just a level of certainty, but what was added to your process here tonight?
I think laying out, like being very specific, laying out the good, the bad, and understanding that if you continue the bad, that good will never come, and that bad, like you're saying, the extreme pain in 10 years, whether it's divorce or a heart attack or bankruptcy, is much worse than the little pain you can put in right now.
Mm-hmm. Good. Cool. Anything else, John?
No, when I had to identify what area it was, I couldn't pick one particular one, but I do love how this can be applied to multiple areas with the same intent.
Yeah. Oh, and that brings up a point. I have this in a worksheet form, guys. I'm going to put this in the Awaken Man community resources. I'll put this as a file. You can download this. And to John's point, don't wait, till next year to do this. Like, you can do this like on a monthly basis, like to check your routines and get a jump start on the next day or the next month or whatever it is. Do this and apply it to each area of your life on an ongoing basis. So I'll put that up there for you guys. Let me check in with Randall.
Thank you, Scott. The one that has worked in the past is that I got into the habit.
Sorry, Randy. So I don't know what's going on with the audio, but it's sounds like you're in a hyperbaric chamber or something. I'm not sure what's going on. You obviously can hear me okay, right?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I'm not. I wish we could hear you better, but I think it's so weird that I don't know if it'll be useful to hear you. Is there anything you can change? Or should we just move on?
Yeah, go ahead and move on.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure. That's weird. Bummer. Well, I'll definitely want to catch up with you later. We haven't chatted for a while, so let's set a time to get together soon. Okay. All right. So Don, you came in a little later. I don't know if you had any questions or comments. If you were able to hear any of the good stuff.
I heard a little bit. I unfortunately was at a doctor's appointment that ran over, and my phone would not connect to the seminar as I was driving down 205. So
Okay.
I
Any
apologize.
no problem. Is did you have any questions from what you heard?
I don't think I heard enough to formulate a coherent
Okay.
question. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, good. All right, so I think we checked in with everyone. Anybody, should I circle back with anybody that, again, I opened it up to, like, if you have an experience you wanted to share, any wisdom, any like big takeaway or aha, anybody want to share anything before I conclude the call?
Actually, I did have one question. I
Sure.
don't remember the gentleman's name that you're talking to about, lifting weights and doing the cardio in the morning, the treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
man, I'd love to be able to do those things, but how do you fit that in with, the rest of life? It seems like right now I'm drawn so thin,
Mm-hmm.
Is that a fair question, or?
Yeah, so like you feel like you just don't have time to do the workout.
Right. Or the other thing, whatever the thing is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's always, I mean, we kind of covered that in the part 2 of the exercise is identifying the existing habits and routines, and kind of evaluating your excuses and what's the story you're telling yourself, and it kind of comes to the place of either you're in charge of your life or your life's in charge of you. And I really appreciate the question, because we as men, and especially in this community, this Awakened Man community, I want us to challenge each other. I want us to like say, dude, you could do better. Like, as your brother, I'm challenging you that you can do better because I care about you. I'm gonna let you know. And so sometimes it's just a matter of, and I'm not saying this is applying to you or not, Don. It's just like I'm speaking in general, that a lot of times we let life happen to us instead of happening to our life. And sometimes it just takes like somebody getting behind me and saying, dude, you can do better. You can and maybe it's somebody that's been there and done that and can say, yeah, I felt that exact way, and I was telling myself the same exact story, and this is how I got past it. But that's sort of the general idea. Does anybody have some wisdom for Dawn on that?
I mean, I can talk about my situation.
Sure.
This is Darren. I was the one that was talking about that, but I had to kind of analyze what I was doing in the morning, because I know there's so many different busy things that can happen all the time. And I mean, I had the same thing in my mind, like, man, how am I going to squeeze this in? But it was like, okay, well, if I shorten my time with my wife, if I shorten my time in the Word, and my prayer time, and I can do some of these things while I'm working out, like I can get this done. And I've actually found now that it's kind of odd, like since starting this process, I actually wake up an hour. So I now wake up at 4:30, whereas I used to wake up at 5:30, and my body just automatically every morning wakes up about 4:30. And so it's kind of like it kind of created its way on its own, but really taking stock of what you're doing and figuring out if there's some different ways you can squeeze stuff in,
So Darren, what time are you going to bed?
I go to bed about 10.
Okay.
Between 9 and 10, typically closer to 10. But yeah, so 6.5 hours of sleep is what I'm getting. I sleep really solid now. I sleep better than I did 3 months ago. And so that's kind of where
it's interesting. I mean, you kind of touched on a point that, and you maybe said this a little earlier, is like these things when we challenge ourselves, and this is a funny thing about, I know it's not unique to men, but it certainly resonates with men, that we need challenge. Like we get soft, we get complacent, we get lazy when we're not challenged. So that's a part of this idea of the Awakened Man, is like, let's challenge ourselves, let's challenge each other, let's push each other, because the human experience is what's possible. And Gunnar could probably speak to it. That David Goggins book, that guy, he proves that there's a lot more possible than what any of us on this call are doing, right? David Goggins is this guy that he's set records on all sorts of things. Been through Navy SEAL training more than anybody else, and
you got to say the F word a lot.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, what's possible compared to where I'm at is like, it's so huge and vast. Like, I think my existence is so challenged, but there's always somebody who's been more challenged than me. And so if we can use this group and leverage this group, guys, as we go ahead, as we look at months ahead, as we establish community with each other, let's keep that in mind. Like, there's always another level. I can always do better. Even when I think I'm doing amazing, like, I can do better. And as Darren has proven, the improvement compounds on the next thing. Like, he did a health thing last quarter. Now he's doing a business thing. But the reason that he's got the confidence for the business thing, because he improved last quarter on a different thing. So just constant, never-ending improvement, as Tony Robbins says. So we are at our time. Got to conclude it here, but I want you to mark down on your calendar. Mark your calendar. It's always going to be, I'm going to do this until further notice, the second Thursday of each month. So that puts us at February 13th. Mark your calendar. I think this is a good time, 4 o'clock. So I'm planning to do it at 4 o'clock on the 13th, but write it in on your calendar. Thanks for showing up to this one. We'll do it again next month, and then I will be posting in the Awaken Man Community Facebook group too, some of the stuff that we talked about here. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Scott.